is the business of boxing.
The best thing is a fighter needs to take almost everything.
You paid all that money and had the biggest stage in boxing on Netflix, and that is really the best they could do.
He knew that he could not beat Joe Crawford, which is why they basically paid him $100 million.
Some fans online have been discussing the idea that Canelo didn't push himself against Crawford, with claims floating around that he later suggested on a podcast that he held back after the loss. In these conversations, people say he mentioned not fighting at full pace, staying planted, and letting Crawford shine more than he normally would. The talk also includes speculation that business factors and money may have influenced how the fight played out, with suggestions that
that works because it's not pay-per-view, so it's still that was for the point. So they don't get no back in there. So there's no back. There's ticket sales. Pay-per-view, the back end is the most. There's no pay-per-view. Well, I guess if you give me $50 million up front, I don't really care about it.
Many people in the boxing community have been pointing out that Canelo's showing didn't look like his usual form, and discussions online quickly grew after the fight. Viewers and former pros commented that something seemed off, noting how strangely limited his jab was despite it being one of his most reliable weapons, and how he never followed up with the kind of combinations or steady pressure he typically brings. Instead, he relied on isolated shots, stayed planted for long stretches, and showed little urgency even as the round slipped away. The punch numbers highlighted this too, marking some of the lowest totals he's ever posted. Early reactions suggested he might simply be slowing down, but the circulating claims about his mindset have shifted how many people interpret the entire performance.
You don't have the punching power, but he has the skills that are necessary. Yeah.
So you were very impressed with it?
Oscar de la Hoya was among the first voices to question the unusual look of the fight, sharing online that something felt off and wondering aloud whether Canelo had even prepared properly or if there was some other factor behind the sluggish showing. Coming from someone who spent years promoting him and watching him in countless camps, de la Hoya's reaction reflected how different this version of Canelo appeared compared to the sharp, high-output fighter he was used to seeing. To him, the slow pace, lack of intensity, and limited activity didn't line up with what he knew of Canelo's true abilities, and he suggested it couldn't be chalked up to age alone.
When he got hit by Crawford and he took that deep breath, it's frustrating. Don't get me wrong, Canelo facing the right opponent that's going to stay in front of him, that's going to fight, that's going to make it a brawl, Canelo knocks him out. So I'm not saying Canelo's shot or done. No,
Veteran boxer Gabe Rosado shared his thoughts as well, noting that Canelo moved as if his feet were stuck to the canvas, threw no real jab, avoided combinations, and relied only on isolated single shots. To Rosado, the display looked more like something you'd expect from a fighter far beyond his best days, not from a title-holding champion. His remarks match almost exactly with what Canelo has since admitted. In previous bouts with opponents like Golovkin and other elite fighters, Canelo pumped out a steady double jab, fired crisp counters in bunches, and kept steady pressure. But against Crawford, Rosado emphasized that none of those signature traits appeared.
Bud catch those shots off his glove.
He looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah. He'd go to a body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. You know, just all those things that seemed...
He looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo.
Ever. Yeah, he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day. And Canelo said it, he goes, I couldn't figure him out.
No.
Clarissa Shields also weighed in, suggesting that Canelo's body was simply giving out, saying he couldn't move the way he once did, couldn't let his hands go in combinations, and looked like his legs had nothing left. To her, it seemed like the natural decline that comes at the end of a long, punishing career. At the time, that explanation felt believable. David Benavidez, one of Canelo's most vocal critics, has long insisted that Canelo avoid certain opponents. Even before the Crawford bout, he argued that Canelo picked fighters who suited his style and steered clear of matchups that would truly push him. After the fight, Benavidez reinforced his stance, saying Canelo no longer looked willing to take genuine risks.
Because, you know, the fighters always get the less money. And some of the fighters, they need to take the money they're earning, right? Because they don't make a lot of money in the fights, right? But they are.
According to Benavidez and many others, Canelo's main priority was securing the massive payday, and while that caught some people off guard, Benavidez views it as nothing new, even predicting that Canelo will keep following the same pattern. Oscar de la Hoya told Fight Hype that the result had less to do with decline and more to do with stylistic factors, pushing back against claims that Alvarez is finished. Still, he admitted that the road ahead depends heavily on choosing the right opponents. "Don't get me wrong," de la Hoya said, "if Canelo faces someone who stands in front of him, trades punches, and turns it into a firefight, he stops them. I'm not saying he's done or washed. Not at all. It comes down to matchmaking, picking the right names, and making the most money while the window is still open."
See, Canelo is a strong fighter, and every punch he throws comes with power, right? That breaks down the body. Physically, his body is breaking down. Plus, he just had a kid. Canelo wants to go enjoy his life. He wants to keep his wits, keep his mind together, stay sharp, and go enjoy a little bit of that money that he just made. But he could not pass the torch to somebody that didn't respect the game. Canelo's at the top of the list.
According to de la Hoya, plenty of people still think Canelo can operate at the top level, but mostly against opponents whose styles suit him. Eddie Hearn, however, sees things from another angle. In his conversation with Sports Illustrated, he emphasized both the financial stakes and the competitive intrigue surrounding a possible Crawford rematch. For Hearn, the real issue is whether Canelo can answer the growing speculation about retirement. Fans want to know if Alvarez can adjust or whether Crawford will push him even closer to calling it a career, he said. Hearn also noted that Canelo might shock everyone by shifting his approach, pointing out that the Mexican star has reinvented his style before. In his view, Alvarez still has the ability to refine his technique in a way that could give Crawford major problems.
You've been training Crawford for years. Is he retired or is he going to keep fighting?
He just got to take a break.
Is Terence Crawford retired or is he going to keep fighting?
He's going to keep fighting.
He's going to keep fighting?
Yeah.
You're the man. Be man. Hey, congratulations. Enjoy the win.
In their first meeting, Canelo opened strong, dictating the early rounds with precise counters that kept Crawford hesitant, but things changed as the fight wore on. From rounds 9 through 12, Crawford seized momentum, landing the cleaner shots and pushing Alvarez into retreat, a late surge many felt swung the fight in his favor. Hearn argues that with a more disciplined strategy in those closing rounds, a rematch could produce a very different result. He also notes that Canelo may instead choose safer, highly marketable opponents who bring big paydays with lower risk, such as Jermall Charlo or Hamza Shiraz.
We knew Crawford is a great fighter, and I did what I supposed to do, right? I tried for every way, and I trained really hard, and he deserved all the credit. No, I tried.
Chris Eubank Jr. mirrors that confidence, calling a rematch massive and insisting that Canelo still has the weapons to rewrite the story. He believes Alvarez's experience and power can still shine if used the right way, a view many fighters agree with. Canelo's danger is still there, but he needs to show he's ready to adjust. Trainer Robert Garcia has backed the rematch as well, stressing that desire will be the key factor. Speaking to Fight Hype, Garcia said Alvarez must avoid the same tactical slip-ups from the first fight and keep his power edge alive from opening bell to final round rather than fading late. His take highlights a common belief in the sport: Canelo's abilities remain, but it's his willingness to push at full intensity that will determine what comes next.
I would love to see the rematch. I think in the rematch, if he comes back with the hunger that he needs, he could beat Crawford. Because Crawford, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit. But
for Crawford, the victory over Alvarez, intentional or not, has opened the door to new possibilities. Still, there's heavy debate about who he'll target next. Many analysts believe he may steer clear of the most dangerous contenders. Fighters like David Benavidez, Dimitri Bivol, Diego Pacheco, and Bektemir Melikhazev all bring real physical threats with size and power that could disrupt Crawford's slick approach, making those fights high risk with unclear payoff. Because of that, a lot of observers expect Crawford to lean toward opponents with strong name value who can deliver big paydays but offer far less danger, such as Jermall Charlo or Hamza Shiraz.
As a Canelo fan, I don't really want to see that. I don't think there'll be much difference. I don't think Canelo can bring anything to the table that's going to surprise Crawford. He's a different fighter now. If this was 10 years ago, yes, I think the fight could have gone a different way. But there's no point in even thinking that because Canelo's a different fighter now. They fought today. They fought when Crawford is older as well. So I can't be trying to say, well, Canelo's not in his...
The business side of boxing plays a huge role here. Crawford's win has given him the power to secure massive paychecks, but how long he can keep that leverage depends entirely on the matchups he picks moving forward. On the other side, Canelo's choices will also influence the direction of the sport. If he chases an immediate rematch with Crawford, it could become a major global event. But if he opts for a safer, more favorable opponent instead, many will take it as a sign that he's nearing the closing stages of his career.
Terence Crawford, personally, I do not want to see rematches are new with him. It's a very close fight. You can't really tell which fight won. There's a lot of close rounds, swing rounds. That wasn't the case in this one. Terence Crawford won pretty handed. I personally scored the fight 9-3. Being generous, you can get 8-4.
Even though people accuse Canelo of chasing money, many argue that no paycheck is worth the position he put himself in by taking the Crawford fight. The truth is that boxing has reached a stage where big money matchups overshadow everything else. It no longer matters if a fighter is aging or clearly slowing down. If the financial offer is huge, the fight gets signed. That's exactly what happened here. Canelo had already begun showing decline, but the purse attached to facing Crawford was too massive to walk away from. The issue is that while the money keeps flowing, the wear and tear on a fighter's body never stops. And for Canelo, this might have been the one payday that pushed things too far.
I risk my life in the ring, and everybody's making money too. It's not that they don't making money; they're making money, but the fighter needs to make more than them.
Coach Ronnie Shields spoke up immediately after the defeat, firmly stating that Canelo should call it a career. Speaking to Fight Hub TV, he said the performance against Crawford told him everything he needed to know. "It's over," Shields said. "I didn't see energy. I didn't see sharpness. And I didn't see the old Canelo who used to pressure opponents and control the tempo." For Shields, this isn't a matter of switching trainers or adjusting strategy. It's simply age catching up. Fire Eddie Reynoso, bring in a new corner, none of it would change anything. In his view, Canelo's body just isn't responding anymore, and once a fighter reaches that point, no amount of training can turn back the clock.
Just one name at 160, 154. I mean, it's just hard for him, ideally, to just see a fight. No names resonating at the moment. Would you be okay to see him retire?
I would. Look, he's had a great career also. Yes, he's older.
However, Oscar de la Hoya sees things differently. From a promoter's standpoint, he believes there may still be a path to revive Canelo's career, even proposing that moving on from Reynoso and teaming up with a new trainer, possibly someone like Shields, could make a difference. Shields immediately shut that idea down, arguing the issue goes far beyond coaching. Canelo has been battling at the elite level since he was a teenager, pushing through countless tough fights, intense camps, and years of accumulated damage. Crawford, on the other hand, has fewer bouts, fewer wars, and far fresher legs. Shields said Canelo's body is clearly warning him that the end is near, and the more he tries to push through it, the more severe the long-term consequences will be.
The only thing I can tell him or give him advice in is get a new trainer. I can't advise him on retiring or staying in boxing. That's a very personal decision. But I can say, hey, get a new trainer. You'll do better.
And the warning signs are becoming impossible to overlook. Since the Dimitri Bivol bout in May 2022, Canelo simply hasn't looked like the same fighter. He's still getting his hand raised, but those wins haven't carried the old dominance, and he hasn't produced a knockout. Late in fights, he's looked fatigued, and the opponents he's been facing were ones he could beat even with a decline. But Crawford was a different challenge. Canelo couldn't rely on size to break him down, and once the fight went into the deeper rounds, his gas tank faded badly. Shields has a point. At some stage, the body exposes the truth.
If we see a fight where Canelo Alvarez looks old, and guess what? He's old.
Yeah.
And it might be a case of him being less than he was. And then,
interestingly, Shields also shared some unexpected guidance for Crawford. He hinted that even Bud should think about walking away soon, maybe after just one more bout. At 38, Crawford still looks impressive, but many feel it's smarter to retire before any signs of decline start showing. Shields even advised that Crawford move down to 160, win a title there, and then call it a career. His logic is that staying at 168 is dangerous since the challengers are younger, more driven, and physically stronger. Shields pointed out that someone like Chris Eubank Jr., who attacks non-stop and never stops pressuring, would pose a real threat. Crawford handled Canelo partly because Canelo slowed down and gave him room, but that approach wouldn't succeed against a fresher, relentless opponent.
As a potential opponent for Canelo, but the big question has been, is Christian ready for that opportunity? Is he ready for the moment? Do you feel after this Saturday that you are ready for a fight with whoever wins the fight against Crawford and Canelo?
I'm born ready. Yeah, I'm born ready. Yeah. I'm born ready for this fight.
Retirement talk rarely matches what actually happens, especially when massive paydays are on the table. Crawford now holds the undisputed crown at 168 and has become one of the sport's biggest draws. That's why Turki Alshik quickly hinted at a possible showdown with David Benavidez, even questioning whether Crawford could still comfortably make 168. It was an obvious signal that he's pushing for Crawford versus Benavidez, a matchup that not only fuels huge debate, but also has the potential to pull in tens of millions in profits.
Canelo, would you ever entertain a fight with the Mexican monster David Benavidez? What you want, Canelo? What you want, Canelo? Wait, I gotta ask you, bro, because I can't, you know?
My thing is, Benavidez is a big dude. You know what I mean? Not to say I won't fight him, I will fight him.
Crawford has openly acknowledged that he's still considering his next move. Speaking with Ring Magazine on X, he explained that he'll sit down with his team to choose between dropping to middleweight or remaining at super middleweight. The issue with moving down is simple, the money just isn't there. Champions like Janibek Alimkanyeli, Arislandi Lara, and Carlos Adams are strong competitors but not big attractions. None of them can drive pay-per-view numbers, excite major markets in the US or UK, or persuade Turki Alshik to offer a massive purse. Shields is correct that Crawford could win a title at 160, but financially, the move offers little reward.
Good job. They're talking about it. Turkey did it at the, he was like, Benavidez. Yeah, he did. So he Turkey just coaches at this moment, wondering if Benavidez can make 168. Maybe he has plans or ideas of maybe match up Benavidez and Crawford. No.
That's why Benavidez is viewed as the real money fight. The only uncertainty is whether Crawford can still cut down to 168 without issues, but if he can, the showdown becomes enormous. Benavidez is young, unbeaten, and hungry for a defining win against a top-tier opponent. Crawford may be older, yet many believe his technique gives him a legitimate chance even if he's the smaller man. Social media reacted instantly. Some claimed Bud would school Benavidez with ease, while others felt Benavidez's size, aggression, and non-stop pressure might finally overwhelm him. But everyone agreed on one thing: it's a matchup that absolutely needs to happen.
Hey, it's a storyline there. You beat my brother. I need that revenge. I'm the Mexican monster. You a pound for pound great. You coming up. Let's do it. If Terence Crawford beats David Benavidez, I don't even think he needs to fight Canelo. You automatically have to put Terence Crawford in top 5 or top 10.
Other contenders are being discussed as well. Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev at 175 are potential options, and if Crawford moved up and defeated either one, it would be a monumental achievement. Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz are still in the picture too, but since both compete at welterweight, they no longer generate the same buzz now that Crawford has already cleaned out that division. Sebastian Fundora could also be considered, though he's more of an unpredictable choice. The truth is, at this point in Crawford's career, only the blockbuster fights really matter. His legacy is already established, now it's about securing the biggest paydays.
Bud next, since Bud's so strong. That's what I said. Why are you talking about 54? None of them dudes gonna get you up. If you truly beat Canelo, why not be the greatest fighter in the existence of boxing? Like, Bivol was the only dude to beat 2 undisputed active champions. Like, he beat Canelo as an undisputed champion, and he beat Beterbiev as an undisputed.
And that's essentially where the sport stands now. Boxing isn't guided by mandatories or official rankings anymore. It revolves around matchups that can create the biggest worldwide hype. Powerful promoters like Turkey have reshaped the landscape, and fighters such as Crawford are in the perfect position to cash in. That's why, despite seasoned voices like Ronnie Shields advising him to call it a career, it's unlikely that Crawford walks away right now. The financial rewards are massive, the spotlight is stronger than ever, and the chances to cement even more history are still right in front of him.
You've been training Crawford for years. Is he retired or is he going to keep fighting?
He just got to take a break.
Is Terence Crawford retired or is he going to keep fighting?
He's going to keep fighting.
He's going to keep fighting?
Yeah.
You're the man. Be man. Hey, congratulations. Enjoy the win.
Fans online are already sketching out their dream scenarios for Crawford. Some believe he should grab a middleweight belt and then jump to light heavyweight to take on Bivol or Beterbiev. If he managed to do that, he'd become only the second fighter ever to claim titles in 7 divisions, putting him in a realm even Mayweather never touched and strengthening his case as one of the all-time greats. Others say, forget 160, forget 175, just face Benavidez next and deliver the fight fans have been begging for. No matter the angle, everyone agrees the money is what dictates every move. And Canelo's loss to Crawford proved once again that top fighters will still gamble everything as long as the paycheck is worth it.